thank you so much for us. This is so exciting. It makes sense for us on every single level. Like the LSE, as you know, is kind of 69% international students, and for entrepreneurship, we know that it's a global mission, and so I think it would be crazy not to be engaging with our innovators all over the world. And while we have a really intensive and interactive program in the UK, what we've noted is that the magic with entrepreneurs quite often happens when people graduate, and so it is entirely sensible in our eyes to be looking at supporting you guys as you grow and build your socially impactful businesses all over the globe. And Dubai for us is the first event of this starting line series that hopefully will be an opportunity, a really exciting one for people that are already in Dubai to kind of expand their network. For those that are looking to scale in the area to learn more and to meet people, and for those kind of really early stage entrepreneurs that are just looking to kind of get a grasp of the international ecosystem, what different regions provide. Hopefully this will be a really insightful experience. So I wanted to, there'll be plenty of time afterwards just to kind of introduce yourselves and get to know each other a little bit better. And I will share, as long as everyone's happy with it, the contact details as well, so you can continue to kind of collaborate. And we'll be setting up all kinds of virtual platforms to ensure that this is just the start of a really exciting journey. But I wanted to hand over to you guys because you are the experts in this, and Saad in particularly is going to give us a quick introduction to the ecosystem. And we're going to ask him some questions. You guys, LSE students, are the best at asking questions. So start to kind of gather your thoughts together and be ready to fire them out at Saad when he finishes his short presentation. But yeah, as I said, it's a real delight. I wanted to thank Laura as well, who's kind of set this up. And as I said, it's the start of a really exciting journey for all of us. So over to you, Saad.
Thank you so much. Thank you, LJ, and good evening, everyone from Dubai time, and Ramadan Mubarak for those of you who's celebrating Ramadan. And I'm happy to start the line with Dubai, and I hope you see it a really attractive market to expand your business, or even to move one day to work remotely like Ali have done. I have a short presentation which I like to share the screen with you all. Can you see it in the screen now?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, so I thought it would be maybe easier to structure the presentation in a journey of 7 phases. But let me just very quickly to introduce myself. I'm now a student at College of the Department of Management and Marshall Institute. I'm studying now my Executive Masters in Social Business and Entrepreneurship. I'm living in Dubai for the past maybe 19 or 20 years. I'm a Kuwaiti originally. I have my own business here, but I used to work for the government as a government communication advisor and worked also for the private sector. So I think I was lucky enough to try the 3 sectors of having my own business, working for the government, and working for non-profit and the private sector. So the whole sectors, I've seen the market from 360 point of view. Which I think it would be beneficial for any entrepreneur to understand the dynamics of any market. Currently, I'm working with 2 non-profit organizations in Dubai. One is Kuwait Business Council in Dubai, under the Dubai Chapter, and the other organization I'm serving in the board of Young Arab Leaders. Both organizations are focusing on fostering the entrepreneurial culture among the youth and empower them to start their businesses and choose entrepreneurship as a preferred career path for them. So going to the 7 steps journey of today, I would start with the competitiveness, looking at Dubai from a global perspective. Then I will be moving on a micro level view on Dubai itself and getting some numbers and statistics. Then I will talk about some success stories of brands that you heard about them, but maybe you didn't know that they come from Dubai. So maybe they will give you some inspiration and you will relate to these businesses. Fourthly, I will speak about some recent regulations that will change the landscape of setting up business or running a business for you as international investor or international entrepreneur. I will also tap into the most important, let's say, partners or key players in the market who could help you or even make your business easier and hopefully more profitable. Of course, we cannot talk about it all in the bright side. As entrepreneurs, we have to be realistic. There are some challenges beside the opportunities. We have to tackle them and compare them with other markets. So when we decide, we will have an informed decision. Lastly, I will just share with you a few links for those of you who's interested to get more details, because I will just go through these points very quickly because I'm keen to have it as a live conversation with you all. Starting with the global rankings and to see how Dubai in particular and UAE, United Arab Emirates is the country, Dubai is the city, how they are ranked in different international indices. World Bank, for example, actually most, if not all, the international rankings within the MENA region, Middle East and North Africa, is ranking Dubai, ranking UAE, in the top of the region when it comes to the ease of doing business or the attractiveness or having the best ecosystem for entrepreneurs. In a global level, it depends on the different indices that we are looking at. Comparing, for example, World Bank ease of doing business, it's 16th globally. And all of these indices are comparing 100 plus countries, like maybe 120 or 150 sometimes. So that's an amazing rank when you compare it. And feel free, please, to shut the screen if you want, or I think the presentation will be saved, so don't worry. Then moving to the market overview, I know this is not a surprise, but I have to emphasize on this point that UAE is not Dubai. Can you see the map? This is Dubai, the green one. So the United Arab Emirates consists of 7 cities. The capital is Abu Dhabi. Can you see the yellow one, the largest city, of course. And there are other relatively smaller cities, each one Sharjah, Ajman, Ras Al Khaimah, Mulgawin, and Fujairah. Each one of them is unique by itself. Some of them is more into cultural tourism, like Sharjah, and the other cities may be more into export and imports, depending on its seaports like Fujairah. Ras Al Khaimah, for example, is more of nature. So each city has its unique, let's say, selling point, and some international investors and entrepreneurs sometimes, because the distance is not that far between these cities. For example, from Dubai to Sharjah, 20 minutes only. Some people think to maybe live in Sharjah for less expensive living costs, and maybe have their office in Dubai, or maybe have their warehouses if they have warehouses in Ajman, and do their business in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and so on. It's very easy to do business across the country, but this is an important fact, that we look at the United Arab Emirates as a whole country to get the benefits of the whole ecosystem, and not only Dubai as it's getting promoted. I know it's the shining star, but there are other cities has a unique selling points. Then moving to the success stories, I'll take 4 examples. Maybe you have heard about them. We don't have lots of what's being called unicorns, which is the companies which is valued $1 billion plus. But there are good success stories here. I will start, for example, Kareem. Kareem is started here as a standalone company by two entrepreneurs here in the region, and later on get acquired by Uber for $3.1 billion. And now Kareem and Uber are operating in a different brand names in the region and here in Dubai and in the region in general, but they are all under one umbrella. Another example is down here, Souk. Souk.com is an e-commerce platform acquired by Amazon, but it's get rebranded. So here we have an Amazon as a brand. It started as a local company and get expanded until it's get acquired by Amazon. Al-Ghami is a music platform similar to Spotify and others. It's the first Arab tech company to go public, to be in the NASDAQ New York. Telegram, which all of us maybe know, they have two headquarters, and one of them is in Dubai. And I think the top management, the founders now are based in Dubai as well. As you can see, the four businesses here are tech businesses. That's how the future is going there. Nothing traditional like retail or other businesses. Let's take some regulations, which is some of them are very interesting to know about them. I'll take some of them are recent and may also get you maybe think about moving or expanding your business to benefit from them. UAE, for example, have now allowed 100% business ownership for foreign and international investors. Previously, for any international investor, the only option, the only two options that you have, either you open in, you start up in a free zone with strict regulations, or you partner with a local partner with 51 to 49% ownership to be able to do your business in the mainland. But now it's not anymore. You are free to do your business and most of the business activities. Maybe there are some exceptions, but most of the cases you could do your business. So that's easy. You don't need even to look for a partner. The visa and residency here in the UAE, they have several types. They have entrepreneur and investor visas. Some of them are even longer term for a 10 years visa. They have a remote workers visa, which is just announced earlier this year, where you could live in Dubai legally and do your but even if your employer is outside of the UAE, for example, in the US, or if you work for Google, for example, and but you could be based in Dubai, you could buy your freehold real estate unit and live your life and get your kids here in schools or whatever you want to do, and work remotely for another country. Thirdly, this is very interesting idea. The regulation lab. The cabinet here came up with this idea when they have faced challenges from the disruptive innovations company like Uber or Airbnb and these kind of businesses where they couldn't fit within the current ecosystem and the legal system. So they came up with this Reg Lab and introduced it to these companies and told them, let's try and develop what we could come up with. Come up with your idea. Let's apply it in a very small scale, and we will give you, as a government, our concerns when it comes to data collection or privacy or security reasons or whatever concerns that normally the governments have, and let's come up together in putting the right legislation for this innovation. For example, Airbnb, what kind of regulation that could I allow people to host people to their houses and get paid for that? Are they hotels, apartments? What kind of business should I categorize them? So these kind of challenges normally get solved through the Reg Lab. And then once it's complete and succeed, they will scale it up and apply it for everyone. The taxation, as you know, in Dubai and UAE in general, there is only 5% VAT. There is no tax on income or any other type of taxes. So normally for you as a business owner, you might not feel it because it will be paid from your clients directly. You will just add the 5% on top of your invoices. Lastly, there is a nice model which is emerging now in Abu Dhabi, the capital. It's called Hubs 71. It's incubator and entrepreneurship center. They have applied the UK common law there. So in case of in starting up, in doing business, they don't apply the UAE law, they apply the UK common law. And the reason for that, they have noticed that most of the, especially the tech startups, when they want to raise funds, for some reason, they start up in Virgin Islands or Cayman Islands or somewhere to fit their regulations and to attract the investors. So they have tried to find a better model and to attract them to start up their business here in UAE, specifically in Abu Dhabi through Hub 71. And I think they are getting lots of applications because even they are supporting with funding, with housing and many benefits for the potential business ideas and promising entrepreneurs. Going to the key players, I have divided them into sectors. Starting with His Excellency Dr. Ahmed Belhoul Falasi. He's a Minister of State for Entrepreneurship and SMEs. So he's the Ministry of Economy here in UAE has 3 ministers, and one of them is the Minister of State for Entrepreneurship and SMEs. He's dedicated to enhance the ecosystem on the UAE in general, not only Dubai, as I mentioned, the regulations, the ease of doing business, and the public policies related to entrepreneurship, everything, even starting from the definition of the SMEs based on the sectors, all the way for the most challenging cases. There are local entities in each Emirates, the 7 Emirates. They have entities that supports the entrepreneurs when it comes to free mentorship or training, or sometimes office spaces, co-working spaces. Most of these services are free of charge with the specific conditions, and it's available across the whole cities. The chambers here are even very active. Dubai Chamber is one example, but there is also Abu Dhabi, Ajman, Sharjah, all of Emirates, they have their own chambers. And Dubai recently, last month, have announced that they would like to establish 3 other or 2 sub chambers of commerce, one on international trade and the other one on digital economy, because they are thinking the traditional chamber of commerce is mainly focusing on the traditional business activities, but these kind of businesses require different mindset, different regulations, and different promoting programs. And I'm sure if any of you have something around these areas, will benefit from them. There are lots of programs here. I don't want to stop in each one of them, but let me just stop here in the Nasdaq Dubai, for example. It will be launched this year. Dubai stock market have partnered with Nasdaq to launch the first SMEs stock market, where you could list your business with a condition that it shouldn't be valued more than $250 million, and there is no minimum. It's open, just in case you want to attract funding and investors. As you know, the media is active. We have a dedicated and specialized media. Entrepreneur magazine, for example, they have their own edition for the Middle East. We have Arabian Business and many other media, Menabyte, Magnet, and others, who's interested to cover the stories of the entrepreneurs, and at the same time to showcase the developments in the region and in Dubai in specific. There is something very interesting here in this market is the business communities. As I informed you in the beginning, I'm part of Kuwait Business Council. These are non-profit business communities. In Dubai only, there are 50 business councils. There is a British Business Council, American, Italian, and you name it, 50 business councils representing different nationalities, beside also the business groups, which represents the professions like the textile industry or the gold investors or traders and you name it in different sectors and industries. Each one of these communities are working closely together. They have their own board of directors. They meet, they network, they exchange information, and they do their own even advocacy and lobbying activities to support their causes. So once you start up your business here, you should look for the right business community that you get to join and be part of them to help you in growing and expanding your connections. Talking about the opportunities, maybe I could highlight 4 opportunities here in Dubai, starting with the advanced technologies like the AI, blockchain, and fintech, 3D printing. In fact, in UAE also, they have the first AI minister in the world. He's 27 years old, very sharp and excellent leader who's believing in the importance of the businesses and applying the AI in general, in the government or even in the business side. The e-commerce, as you know, the COVID maybe have opened the market and for the e-commerce companies and the applications, and it was there here before, but now it's getting better. The people get used for the payment gateways and for delivery and logistics through e-commerce, everything contactless. So if you have a business within these areas, you will be lucky to expand here. Islamic economy, Dubai have a vision to be the global Islamic economic hub. And in compared to London, for example, or Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, they may be focused on the Islamic finance part, but Dubai has divided the Islamic economy in 7 pillars, including finance is only 1 pillar, but there is the modest fashion, the halal manufacturing, and even the art, the Islamic calligraphy, for example, and many other pillars. Yeah, I don't remember all of them, but that will be a very even attractive market, and you will get support if you start your business in any of these pillars. As you know, Dubai is a welcoming city for the world. So the tourism and real estate are always active markets, and they are actually the indicators of how healthy is the market. If you look at the tourism, how the tourism is going on, or the real estate. Talking about this time of COVID, Dubai's airport is open, no lockdowns, the malls are open, and all the people are living their life as long as they are wearing their mask. That's it. But the tourism is getting better and coming back to flourish. Lastly, are the challenges. These are from my own perspective as someone who's living here and doing business for the past 20 years almost. And I'm comparing these challenges to the neighborhood countries of the GCC. Which is my home country, Kuwait, for example, or Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and Oman. The GCC market consists of these 6 countries. First of all, the competition here in UAE. You cannot think of a single business idea without competition here. And sometimes you will find that your competitor is the government. So it will make it hard for you. I'll give you just an example. Burj Khalifa or Dubai Mall, they are both part of A'mar. A'mar is a listed company, yes, but the majority of its stakes are blocked for the government. So by the end of the day, you will find yourself, maybe you have a business activity, but you will get competed by I'mar, for example, or any other semi-government companies. So the competition is one thing, unless you have your own selling point and you have your niche market and you have studied your customers, you will get your market. But this is something to get thinking of. The government fees are relatively high compared to the other countries. There are continuous increase in the fees for starting a business. So the entrepreneurs, when they start their businesses here, they always try to look for co-working spaces, for the basic setup before they just start in an actual office and bringing the team and so on. So this is something you need to think about. Cost of living, especially if you decided to move. At this point specifically, if you decided and you have a small family and you need schools for your kids, it's expensive lifestyle in Dubai specifically. Maybe in Sharjah and the other Emirates, you will see the difference. Lastly, which is very weird, the SME banking. As a small business owner, you will get challenged to open a business account. For some reason, the banks are maybe not welcoming the small and micro businesses in specific, and they apply high charges, monthly charges for maintaining the account and having a relationship manager and so on. You will find it difficult to open an account or maintain it with a single bank. For myself, I've changed the bank maybe 3 times because of the continuous changing of fees and terms and conditions. So what's next about this? I'm sharing with you just a list of links and websites that you could check out. Invest in UAE is one single and central platform. You could start your business wherever you are, and you get all the information to start a business on any Emirates. There's 7 cities within the UAE, including Dubai is one, but there are other 6 cities, as I told you. It's very, very useful, and there is an English version of the website. Secondly, the international business groups and councils. Please visit Dubai Chapter website, Google it, and look for the right business group that represent your nationality or type of business. And you will find like-minded people who's keen to help and provide you with any information that you need. Invest in Dubai. This is another version, a smaller version of Invest in UAE, but dedicated for Dubai. They claim that you could start your business within less than 10 minutes, I think. So try it and let me know if that happens. Later on, we have Dubai Expo. As you know, it's because of COVID, it's been moved to this year. It will start in October, maybe within like 6 months. It's amazing opportunity to network and to get idea. This year is theme is connecting people, connecting minds. So it's about innovations. It would be very useful to visit. The weather will be great on that time. And I hope that all of you will get vaccinated by then, so you could come and visit Dubai without any issues. Lastly is the meetings and conferences. Dubai is home for the largest corporate trades and fairs in the region, and sometimes even globally. Gulf Food, GITEX for technology, hotel show, and you name it, in any sector, you will find a dedicated exhibition or a conference that talks and covers every single detail of your business. So keep an eye on these things. Maybe Dubai World Trade Center is the right platform to give you an update of all the events happening here. I'm sorry for taking that long time, but you could take a picture of this QR code to keep in touch, and we'll keep the conversation also now for any questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So that was just jam-packed with so much useful information. It was brilliant. So thank you. And just as you were talking, we had a whole flood of questions in. So I wonder if we can just go through them one by one. Some was kind of some were off the back of what you'd mentioned in some of your slides, and some were just kind of additional kind of nuggets of information that the guys wanted to understand better here. So maybe if we just go from the top, there's a question around the kind of foreign ownership law and whether it does actually require a high level of turnover to qualify for 100% foreign ownership in the mainland.
Okay, you are starting from top.
Yeah, just at the top there. Ali was asking that.
Yes.
There is a specific. I could share with you, Ali, the link of the. But it's not related to the amount.
Because I remember when this law was first announced, I remember in the news they said the qualifying amount was, I think, for retail 100 million dirhams turnover. And I don't know if that was a draft or if that was actually enacted or not. So I was curious to see if you have any knowledge of that.
No, the turnover related to the visa and residency. Right. To be eligible for a specific long-term residency, you have to have that turnover. But for the ownership, there is just the restrictions are only on the business activities.
Sure.
Brilliant. Joel, did you want to jump in and ask your question?
Yeah, sure. Saad, thank you so much for taking the time. And I'm actually in Dubai at the moment as well. So a couple of things, because I've been dabbling in the crowdfunding industry a bit. I'm actually looking to set that up in London at the moment, but I did check out the UAE sort of scene, did a lot of research into the startup scene in MENA as well. Look specifically at Egypt also, but I looked up at crowdfunding and they said that the minimum capital requirement was like 1 million dirhams to start up. And that seems to be a common theme across a lot of, setting up businesses. And you mentioned it yourself, like government fees is extremely high. Like in the UK, I can probably set up a business for 40 pounds, 30 pounds, why aren't we sort of moving towards that sort of a thing? And number two, the number of commercial banks that we have in the UAE, and I think it's about 52, 58 for about, 9-10 million people. And, we see consolidation across the sector. But I feel like the banks are moving extremely slowly compared to, sort of the UK or the European region, because they don't have, obviously young leaders at the top. And I think that there can be a lot of agility when you have sort of youth advisory groups or things like that. Or maybe I'm sort of promoting my own interest in that regard. Maybe I want to be that particular person, but I'm shooting my shot right now. So if you know anyone who needs a youth advisor, like hit me up. But then, that's just sort of my take on it, because I don't think they're effectively catering to this, Gen Z millennial market, which everyone seems to be moving to now with E20, with the ADQ one that's setting up, and so many other, like Zand the other day. So, there's a bunch of them out there, and none of them actually seem to be caring about the audience, which is about 51% of the UAE market, which is entirely millennial and Gen Z. But the big CEOs that are making the calls are well in their 60, 50 and 60 or whatever. So what do you feel about that?
Talking about the banks maybe, and the issue of the the gap of the generations, I've seen that maybe some of the banks maybe try to solve this issue, and maybe through the digital transformation, but they couldn't make it for the corporate. They maybe managed to do a few services for the personal account. But 1 week ago, Mohammed Al-Abbar, the chairman, the founder of A'mar and Noon.com, he's a well-known real estate tycoon and entrepreneur, announced that he's establishing the first fully digital bank called Zand, Z-A-N-D. Yeah. And it will be the first bank who will provide banking services for both the SMEs and personal, for retail, with minimal charge, and to just tackle the problem of the traditional banks. As you just said, they are not trying even hard to find the solution for this challenge. Talking about the crowdfunding issue, I think there are 2 or 3 platforms here, Joel, that could maybe help you. They have less restrictions. Beehive is one platform that Dubai SME is supporting for crowdfunding. You have also DIFC, Dubai International Financial Center. They have FinTech Center, which supports the crowdfunding and even attracts the talents and the people who's interested in these sectors. They involve you in a different ways, either as in an advisory board or even as a judge in some of their competitions, or maybe funding your idea. And they will find a way to put you within their ecosystem. And I hope that's something that you would like to join.
Yeah, of course. I think the FinTech Sandbox is especially with Shireen, Abdullah, and like that whole group of people, Najla Al-Midfa, with Shira, and all of these people. So I think I completely agree. And on Alabar's sort of Zan, that's the one I mentioned. And it was funny because they came out saying they were the first digital native back, and then there was Al Maria, which came out with the very next day. And I was just like, what's happening here? So
Yes.
Thank you so much. Ali had a great question. Saad, what's your favorite, and anyone else actually who is based out in Dubai or knows the Dubai market, what's your favorite entrepreneurial story in Dubai at the moment?
It might be maybe one of them is Kareem. The reason is that it's a homegrown idea. It's not a franchise. And because also it's been established and not even in a time where even the market wasn't mature enough. They did not know how to regulate it. It's the Middle East version of Uber. So they did not, the RTA here, Road and Transport Authority, when it started here, they don't know how to regulate and license such businesses. So they get challenged from day one until now. They get acquired by Uber for 3.0 billion. So I think this is the most exciting success story here in Dubai.
Thanks, Saad. Thank you. And then I know that time is running out. I know that people need to go, but Camilla, hi Camilla. She was asking, well, thank you for your excellent presentation, she says, and she had a question around Islamic financing. So any initiatives that specifically support startups that are focusing on promoting and facilitating access to Islamic financial solutions. I know that you mentioned it in your presentation. Can you elaborate?
Yes, sure. There is Camilla, a center here. It's a Dubai, a global Islamic economy. Again, it's not Islamic finance, Islamic economy. Economy is wider than the finance. Finance is only one pillar, but they have another 6 pillars beside the finance. This center is organizing the largest event annually, which I'm not sure if they will do it this year because of COVID, or they will just move it for next year. During that event, they have a conference, and they issue the most recent trends in this industry. They have competition to support and fund the ideas, and even to attract them to start and to establish their headquarters in Dubai, and giving them the full support. I hope that I give you the right name here. Global Islamic. I will write it in the chat. Hopefully it's...
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, because Dubai is, so the Emirates is sort of focused on Islamic economy. Then you have Kuwait, who's focused on banking, Islamic banking. And then Bahrain, that's focused on Islamic fintech, right? Mostly. That's at least how I've understood it until now. Is that more or less correct? Okay.
That's 100% right, yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much.
Any other questions for Saad, or
yes, I think there is a question from Kerry Fihan, my
oh yeah, I think she was just
from CIPR.
Yes. Ali, I think you had a question as well.
Yes, just something I wanted to ask about your idea on Saad. Do you think that the Dubai entrepreneurship scene is under threat from Saudi now trying to entice companies to start up over there? Like a few months ago, they announced that for any company to get any state contracts in Saudi, they have to be headquartered within the kingdom. And I guess the model for a lot of consultancies and a lot of businesses was be based in Dubai, and get all the benefits of the Dubai, system, but then make their money in Saudi because that's the biggest economy in the region. So I was curious to see in the future, do you think Saudi will become a threat to the Dubai entrepreneurial ecosystem?
Well, to start with, this may be concerned with the large companies, Ali. That's not targeting the SMEs at all, or the entrepreneurs. So maybe that's maybe related to the large, the big four consultancies and other. And I think they have enough teams, and there are enough strategies to take the best of each market. So I don't think anyone will get.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Any final questions or comments or tips that you guys have?
One thing I wanted to share quickly was, have you heard of jadoparo.com, Saad? I'm not sure if you would have. So just when LJ mentioned what's everyone else's favorite entrepreneurial story, for me, because I've been in Dubai for the past 15 years, and the one company that I really like was this e-commerce website called jadoparo.com. It was started by a local UAE businessman who started basically e-commerce before it was a thing. I think even before Souk.com became really big. They started selling phones before most people started selling phones online. That's where I got my first ever device. Eventually, they got bought out by Noon.com, which is, I think, Emar's answer to Souk.com. But it was really interesting seeing that when they first started in about 2013, 2014, nobody in Dubai did e-commerce. No one understood it. Everyone thought it would just be like a fad. And then they got bought out for an undisclosed amount. And then a few years later, Amazon and Noon and the whole ecosystem has just blown up so much more. So I just thought that's kind of like the benefit here. The ground here is so fertile that if you're the first mover here, you can really get a big advantage.
You're right. You're right. Yeah. You're right. And some actually, there are even first movers, they could not succeed. Like, for example, there was a business here called Maktoob. It get acquired by Yahoo. Yahoo Maktoob. And they're, you rarely hear about them now. But the founders of these of Maktoob have done several successful businesses here in the market. So I think the timing is very important, but also maybe to be adaptable and agile for the changes in the market. That will give you maybe an advantage.
Just last one, Saad. So basically, I'm sort of juggling with this whole regulation piece. Obviously, with Kareem, like you mentioned, there was no regulation around it, and they basically had to navigate that whole thing and feel the pain of essentially having to burn through a significant amount of capital before you can get something off the ground, right? So I was just wondering, for someone that's juggling the trade-off of the way I look at my plan right now is do the UK first and then the European sort of union area, and then, eventually branch out into the sort of MENA space, because I just think that we don't have sufficient sort of capital to feel the pain of waiting for regulation to adopt to the extent that, crowdfunding is where it needs to be, for instance, because that's my domain. So how do you think about something like that? And yeah, I understand that, obviously you would like to support UAE businesses and things like that. But when I'm weighing up a trade-off like that as an entrepreneur with assume 0 dirhams, what do you think about it?
I maybe mentioned one example is the Regulations Lab. This is an initiative by the cabinet here, Ministry of Cabinet Affairs, where it called any businesses with disruptive innovation to bring in their idea to evaluate it from legal, technical, and even social perspectives in order to find the right regulation for that. And I think Kareem have succeeded in passing this. Now, even they have partnered with RTA, the Road and Transport Authority. Before that, they couldn't get licensed, but now they have succeeded in bringing in the whole fleet of taxis in Dubai of RTA under Kareem application. So if you are in Dubai now, you could open Kareem app and you could order Dubai taxi through Kareem app.
Yeah, I do use that a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So from being undefined business and someone who's couldn't fit in the market until to be a strategic partner to the government. That's why I think Kareem have done an amazing job. It's really a success story. It's not only in fundraising perspective, but even to find their way and path and to convince the investors of the potential of this business. Because as you know, for such business ideas, investors maybe get unsure about if the business will get succeed, or maybe because you are in a maybe a shaky situation and your counterpart is the government, not a competitor, normal competitor. But they did very good job, the founders here.
Thank you. Thank you all for your questions and your comments. That is so helpful and contributed to a really really exciting discussion there. Laura's just popped in the chat the app that we've recently launched, that our hope with that is that you can connect with other alumni and students in hopefully this will answer your question, Ali, in the country, but also internationally as well. So we're starting these hubs all over the globe, so you'll have access to those other entrepreneurs. We are just actually kind of kicking off the Dubai hub. So actually, I'd almost like to kind of throw it back to you in terms of what do you guys need from us? And we'd love to kind of start this up as this kind of a community of growing, a growing community of entrepreneurs, but not just entrepreneurs, also investors, advisors, mentors. We know it takes a village to raise an entrepreneur. So we're really keen to kind of have quite an open innovation and kind of style approach to what we're trying to grow. We will definitely be setting up a Slack channel that you guys can access and share ideas. But actually, if there's anything else that you think we can help coordinate either on the ground or from kind of London, anything you feel that an institution like LSE could add to what is already a really exciting ecosystem, then we'd love to hear from you. Laura is our contact, who you can see just there waving. She's going to be working really closely with Saad over the next few months and hopefully years, and really growing or really establishing this ecosystem. So would love to hear from you if you have any ideas, tips, advice, anything you've seen from other universities that you think works, anything that kind of individually you feel would contribute to that.
I think it's a very simple equation with us. We have karak chai, we have shawarma, and we bring everyone together, and then that's how it starts. That's how you get your entrepreneurial ecosystem going in Dubai.
Fabulous. Thanks, Joel. We will continue to kind of share information coming from our side. So any events that we're running that are virtual that you guys can access, competitions, funding opportunities, acceleration program, that kind of thing. What the pandemic has taught us is that actually we are kind of one family, and kind of what we run out of London, there's no reason that any entrepreneur in the world cannot access that. So we're looking forward to kind of collaborating a lot more over in the future. But please always contact us. Like, this is entirely student alumni led, and if it doesn't work for you, then there's no point in running it. So we want to make sure that it's a true success. So I guess that leaves me just to thank Laura for setting that up, and Saad, thank you so much for all your wisdom and your insight and your experience, and shining such a positive light on what looks like a fascinating and really growing ecosystem. Thank you.